The Modi government has completed 100 days of its working, and now many leaders from the BJP are traveling across the nation to tell what the government has done so far. And in order to pull out the economy from the gloom, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has introduced several measures, from bank merger to the capital infusion. But the pertinent question here is to ask whether, amidst all the poorly performing indicators, can we achieve the dream of a $5 trillion economy? So to talk more about it, we are joined in by our special correspondent, Vishav. So we will get more insights about what is happening all around in the economy. Thanks, Vish, for joining us. So the first question that I would like to ask you is that seeing the 100 days of the Modi government on the economic front, what's your viewpoint on that?
Economy has been on kind of a downward slide for the last few quarters, and it is continuing. So it remains, we can't measure it just in terms of 100 days or 200 days. We have to see how it goes. Right now it is on a downward slide, and it has been happening even before these 100 days, and this has been continuing. So 100 days would roughly be around 1 quarter, around 3 months. So in those 3 months the performance has not been great, but we can't say that it is because of measures taken in these 100 days. So measures taken in these 100 days, they will show the results in coming future. So let's see how it pans out.
And the second I would like to ask you is that from time and again, Nirmala Sitharaman has come out with several measures, from banking merger to capital infusion and a lot more.
Right.
How do you see how these measures, are these measures enough to tackle the slowdown in the economy?
When we talk about capital infusion, so that has been on the cards. It has been proposed in the budget also. So nothing new has been announced. So it is just that what had been announced in the budget. She has just said that after the bank merger how it will happen. And when we talk about the bank merger, I don't know how it can pick up the economy immediately, because over the long term it may be a very good structural reform, but in the short term I think it won't have a lot of positive impact on the economy, because the focus of the banks will shift into creating the synergy between the new bank after the merger that has emerged. So that will take some time, and I think for immediate future I don't think that will yield positive results. In the long run it will be good, but what it can do is, and it did initially when the merger was announced, was give a positive sentiment to the market. So that will always be there. Every measure will be focused on creating positive sentiment in the market. The results will show over time.
And many are saying that India is staring at a possibility of heading into a recession. What's your quick comment on that?
I think that would be kind of an exaggeration. Recession, I don't see. Recession is when the growth is not happening at all. In fact, it is negative growth. So economy is shrinking. I don't see India heading there. Right now the growth has slowed down. That is a very major concern. Government is taking action, and more action may be needed. Some reforms may be needed. But saying that we are heading into a recession, I don't think we are there yet. But of course, we should not be complacent also. So the government has to take action. If it does not take enough actions, then you cannot rule out the possibility of a recession. But we are not there yet. We are still growing at a growth rate of 5% in the last quarter, and I think it will pick up going in future also. So recession is not a major concern for the Indian economy per se. There have also been talks about US economy going into recession, and if that happens, then the impact of the recession in the US economy will be more in India compared to what happened in 2008. So that is a concern. But Indian growth is actually going into the negative territory. I don't think that is a major concern.
And the measure introduced by the Nirmala Sitharaman, that reducing the number of public sector banks from 27 to 12 and merging 10 banks into 4 entities. Like, do you see this rationale of merging the banks to kickstart the lending in the economy? Is this a prudent move?
See, this is a prudent move, no doubt about that. In fact, the question should be how can we reduce the number of banks even further from 12 banks. But yeah, it's a step in that direction. We are now going to have 12 public sector banks, which may also be too much, but yeah, that is for future. But the question that whether this will improve sentiment or improve liquidity in the near term, I doubt it, because these are banks which are already facing some or the other problems. When they are joined, that problems won't just go away in one moment as soon as the merger happens. So that will take time, and the merger in the long run will increase productivity, will increase efficiency, but in the short term it will also lead to some kind of a restructuring and some kind of adaptation when more than one banks are being joined. So that will take away some of the attention from maybe lending to creating a synergy between these entities that are going to be joined. So that may hamper prospects in the near term, but yeah, in the long term it will yield some results, I hope.
And we have seen that Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 15 August from the ramparts of Red Fort made this thing very clear that he wants to achieve the dream of $5 trillion economy.
Yeah.
And now the entire setup is working in that direction. They are firm in achieving that dream. So with poorly performing indicators all across the sector, do you think that this dream is feasible and achieving it is quite easy at this pace?
See, 5 trillion economy, India becoming a 5 trillion economy is inevitable. It will become a 5 trillion economy. It will go on, to become a 10 trillion economy also eventually. The question is, how soon are we going to get there? The government has decided, has set a timeline or a deadline of 2024-25. Now, I would say 1 year back or 2 years back, we were closer to achieving that, that goal. And today, after these recent GDP numbers, we may not be as close as we were. If if you recall, Morgan Stanley in 2017 had said that by 2025 India will become a $5 trillion economy. That time it seemed inevitable. Right now, considering that our nominal growth rate, which fell to 8%, which is more than it has been almost 1.5 decades since that has happened. So yeah, I mean, with that kind of a number, it may be a little difficult for getting there, because 11% nominal growth till 2024-25 we need to achieve that. So that seems a little unlikely. So we may have to push the deadline by a year or two unless we significantly pick up our pace of economic growth.
And as we are witnessing, the kind of a slowdown impact is in the automobile sector, and massive layoffs are going on at all across the companies and the sectors. And amidst all this, Nirmala Sitharaman yesterday made a comment that the mindset of the millennials that booking Ola and Uber is a contributing factor for an economic slowdown. So what's your comment on that? Do you think that is this a valid reason for a automobile slowdown?
I won't give too much significance to this particular factor. It may have some role, but I can't say that is responsible for this kind of a slowdown, because if you look at the numbers, then it is not just the passenger vehicles whose sales have declined. It is also the commercial vehicles, it is also the two-wheelers, tractor sales have also declined. So, and if we talk about Ola and Uber, it's not that villagers have, in villages we have access to these kind of apps and services. Even in all the cities we don't have it, only in major cities we have these kind of services. So I won't say the problem is much deeper than just people switching to Ola and Uber instead of cars. So I don't think that may have some role to play, but not a major.
Whatever the measures the government is introducing, from a bank merger to capital infusion, are these measures enough to tackle the economic slowdown?
I don't think that is enough. I mean, we are seeing that so far, like RBI has also been trying to reduce lending rates. That has not yielded desirable results. Capital infusion may play some role, but we have to understand that the problem in today's crisis is on the demand side, not on the supply side. So most of these measures that are taken, they may address the supply side constraints. So, but to create demand, some more measures are needed, which I'm sure government will come up with as we go forward.
And my last question is, there are many divergent viewpoints on this. Is this a cyclical slowdown or a structural slowdown? And many economists have commented and they have a different version of their thoughts. So what's your take on that? Is this a structural or a cyclical slowdown?
You can't really say that it is either structural or cyclical. It's a bit of both. There are some factors which are cyclical in nature, and then there are others which are structural. We have to admit that, we have to accept that. Only then we can design policies which not only address the cyclical issues but also structural issues. And I think we are ready for next wave of reforms. I mean, now it may be a setback, the growth rate that we have right now, but overall we are ready for next set of structural reforms. And I think that is really needed to address some of the structural issues. And for cyclical issues, government and RBI both are taking necessary steps, and I think that will lead to results.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
So that was all for today's discussion. We will be back with a yet another discussion, an enriching discussion next week. Till then, stay tuned to Outlook Mind.